Today we will be replacing the screen on an Apple iPhone 4S. Required tools: a pentalobe screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, a plastic spudger, a plastic opening tool, a pair of tweezers, a metal blade, and a suction cup. You'll be handling fragile parts, so take your time and be gentle. Make sure to use the correct screws during reassembly. Some screws will have the same size but different lengths and can easily be misidentified during reassembly. If your front or back glass is cracked, keep further breakage contained and prevent bodily harm during your repair by taping the glass using packing tape. Overlapping strips of clear packing tape over the iPhone's display until the whole face is covered. Wear safety glasses to protect your eyes from any glass shaken free during the repair, and be sure to wear an anti-static wrist strap to prevent static charges in the device. Lay overlapping strips of tape over the iPhone's back glass until the whole face is covered. Before disassembling your iPhone, be sure it is powered off. Remove the two 3.6 pentalobe screws next to the dock connector. Push the rear panel toward the top edge of the iPhone. Pull the rear panel away from the back of the iPhone, being careful not to damage the plastic clips attached to the rear panel. Remove the rear panel from the iPhone. Remove the following screws securing the battery connector to the logic board: one 1.7 mm Phillips screw and one 1.5 mm Phillips screw. The plastic opening tool to gently detach the battery connector from the socket on the device. Start lifting off the connector from the bottom side by placing the tip of the tool between the loudspeaker enclosure and the metal cover of the connector. Insert the edge of a plastic opening tool between the battery and the outer case near the bottom of the iPhone. Run the plastic opening tool along the right edge of the battery and pry up at several points to completely separate it from the adhesive, securing it to the outer case. Now remove the battery. Remove the following screws securing the dock connector cable cover to the logic board. Remove the metal dock connector cable cover. Remove the dock cable up from its socket on the logic board. Use the edge of a plastic opening tool to pry the cellular antenna cable up from its socket on the logic board. Remove the following four screws securing the cable cover to the logic board: one 2.7 mm Phillips screw, one 2.6 mm Phillips screw, one 1.3 mm Phillips screw, and one 1.2 mm Phillips screw. Remove the EMI shield on the logic board. Remove the rear camera from the iPhone. Careful not to break any components off the surrounding area on the logic board as you pry upwards. Use the SIM card eject tool or a paper clip to eject the SIM card and its holder. Remove the SIM card and its holder. Remove the 5 cables near the top of the logic board in the following order: the headphone jack and volume button cable, the front-facing camera cable, the digitizer cable, the display data cable, and the power button cable. Be careful not to break any of the small and delicate surface mount components as you disconnect the cables. Use a small flathead screwdriver to remove the 4.8 mm standoff near the headphone jack. Use the tip of a plastic tool to pry the small grounding clip up off the logic board. Use a small flathead screwdriver to remove the 4.8 mm standoff near the headphone jack. Use the edge of a plastic opening tool to disconnect the Wi-Fi antenna from the logic board. Remove the 2.6 mm Phillips screw, securing the logic board near the power button. Remove the following screws, securing the logic board to the case. One 2.5 mm Phillips screw near the vibrator motor, one 2.4 mm Phillips screw, one 3.6 mm standoff along the side of the logic board nearest the battery opening. Use a small flathead screwdriver to remove the screw. Carefully lift the logic board from the end closest to the speaker enclosure and slide it away from the top edge of the iPhone. Now remove the logic board. Wedge the tweezers between the vibrator and the side of the iPhone. Pry the vibrator up to release it from the adhesive, securing it to the iPhone. Now remove the vibrator. Remove the two 2.4 mm Phillips screws from the sides of the speaker enclosure assembly. Now remove the speaker enclosure assembly from the iPhone. Remove the four 1.5 mm Phillips screws, securing the display assembly to the frame of the iPhone. loosen the 3 large-headed Phillips screws along the volume button side of the iPhone about 1/2 turn. It is not necessary to completely remove these screws. When reinstalling the display assembly, be sure the washers are closest to the screw head. Use the edge of a plastic opening tool to gently pry up the display assembly around its perimeter. Remove the display assembly from the iPhone. Remember to switch the home button from your old display to the new display. In most cases, this is not provided. Home button gasket is thin rubber, so care must be taken not to tear it. Make sure to remove the protective cover from your new display assembly. Insert the home button to the front panel assembly. Insert the LCD and digitizer cables from the display assembly panel through the metal frame. Be careful not to bend or break these cables. Run your fingers along the sides, being sure the assembly slips evenly into the frame. Make sure the new screen sits flush inside the frame. Tighten the 3 large-headed Phillips screws along the volume button side of the iPhone about 1/2 turn. Screws should be tightened until snug. Do not over-tighten the screws. Insert the 4 Phillips screws, securing the display assembly to the frame of the iPhone. Be sure to take your time and make sure screws are lined up correctly before tightening. This will help prevent strapping a screw. Insert the speaker enclosure assembly to the iPhone. Be sure the Wi-Fi grounding fingers are installed below the lip in the iPhone's metal case. Insert the 2 Phillips screws to the sides of the speaker enclosure assembly. Insert the vibrator into the iPhone. Fold into place the digitizer and LCD cables to make room for the logic board. Also hold to the side the volume, power button, and headphone jack flex cables. Insert the following 4 screws securing the logic board to the case. 1 Phillips screw located in the middle of the logic board. 1 Phillips screw near the vibrator motor. 1 standoff screw near the headphone jack. And 1 standoff screw along the side of the logic board nearest the battery opening. Insert the grounding Phillips screw, securing the logic board near the power button. Now attach the rear-facing camera to the logic board. Now insert the power flex cable, the side key flex cable, and the front-facing camera flex cable. Make sure flex cables are properly aligned before snapping back in place, and gently push on connections until they connect. Connect the LCD cable along with the digitizer cable. Connect the Wi-Fi antenna to the logic board. Insert the EMI shield on the logic board. Insert the 4 screws securing the cable cover to the logic board. Insert the grounding clip to the logic board near the headphone jack. Route the cellular antenna cable under the metal fingers attached to the logic board. Attach the docking cable to the logic board. Insert the metal bracket to secure the docking cable. Insert the 2 Phillips screws to secure the metal bracket. Now insert the battery to the iPhone. Insert 1 Phillips screw near the speaker and insert a grounding clip to secure the battery connection. Attach the rear panel towards the bottom of the iPhone. Be cautious not to damage the plastic clips attached to the rear panel. Insert the 2 pentalobe screws next to the dock connector.